Good afternoon, guys. Hope you're all well. Um, Welcome to the virtual event today. Quite excited about this. And I was just wondering, oh, there's some more people trying to get in. Could somebody just confirm, put in the chat or put your thumbs up if you can actually hear everything fine? Fantastic. That's great. That's awesome. Thank you very much. And we're just going to get started in just 1 minute as people are kind of flooding in. And we've got something really exciting to share with you today. We've previously had a club that taught people how to do commercial real estate, and we had quite a few successful deals get over the line. We had our full team worked on live deals analysis, structuring, stacking deals, and it's something we're now going to bring to the world of business acquisitions when you buy businesses and real estate and actually do the two things at the same time, which is a lot of fun, to be honest. And it's really my kind of niche. From what I see, I don't think anyone's done it before. I don't think there's anyone doing it. So it's the kind of first of its kind, and it's kind of what I do. And I've kind of done for 35 years and kind of love it. There's a reason why I do businesses and commercial real estate, or businesses that own and trade from their own commercial real estate. That is my kind of go-to number one strategy. And there's reason for that. And we'll go through that very, very shortly. But people are still kind of clambering in. Let me just get them in and we can close that window down and get started here. As I'm quite excited to share this. There's nothing for sale here. So please, everybody, just chill out and relax. Anyone that knows me knows that I'm a pretty laid back kind of guy, and there's nothing for sale. The only thing we will be offering at the end is an option to have a chat, a one-to-one chat, to see if this is potentially right for you. And if it is right for you, great. And if it's not right for you, take the information, enjoy it, and no problem at all. We're here to work with a few people on their own personal journey over a year, and we've got some quite exciting, case studies here to show and share with you. Things I've done over the period, and also some of my the clients who used to be in the commercial club I've done as well. And in fact, while we're in that, this is not just for people who want to do deals; it's for people who want to invest in deals as well. This is the private equity space, and private equity is they are the most sophisticated cats on the planet in terms of investing. A normal multiple of invested capital, i.e., £1 million in, is usually on a bad day 2 million out, on a good day it's 3 million out. Sometimes a lot more, but let's be conservative here. But that's cool. Let's dive in. I'll just share my screen, and we'll share a little bit about the journey. And if anybody's still trying to get in, I'm not quite sure if they're going to get in after this. So we've got to kick off at some point. So let's do that right now. Hopefully everybody can see the screen. Yes, fantastic. Thank you, Daniel. Daniel actually here introduced me to a deal that is a business, been around for many, many decades, and also owns and trades from its commercial real estate as well. And it's really the epitome of where we are, or where people are in terms of the market that I go after. My one market, my one money flow, or one way to finance deals. And it's keeping things simple. It's keeping everything simple, and that's quite an exciting transaction. It is going through a few challenges just now, as you know, Daniel, but I'm sure we'll get there in the end up. And what are the challenges? They're all down to health, because we target one kind of business that is owned by baby boomers, and we'll kind of touch on that soon. There's some more people trying to get into the waiting room, from the waiting room, sorry. So anyway, let's get going. Let's crack on, and because I'm excited to share this. It's been this is my lifetime's work, to be honest. All the deals we've done is basically being compressed into a system, a blueprint, and we'll share with that very briefly at the end. But as I said, there's nothing to buy, so please just chill out, relax, and enjoy the journey. So let's go. So this is the one thing we all kind of want, as we all know, so we don't have to labor on this. This is everyone's kind of dream, and it really comes down to one thing, and it's timelessness. And the timelessness, the ability to be different places on holiday every month and having the choice to do that and not having anything you have to rush back to. That is ultimately what we all want to achieve from our assets, from our investing. And obviously, as investing, we all know we need to buy assets and preferably income producing assets and preferably assets that we can add a ton of value to and preferably assets that we can add a ton of value to without doing a whole lot of work, like the kind of Pareto principle, like the law of least effort. And I've been in projects where there has been a lot of work, a ton of work, to be honest. And we've got one just now. It's a business we bought that owned its own commercial real estate, and we've got planning for 150 purpose-built student accommodation. That is not my focus. It's just it was the thing to do in that location. And it's about a 20 million GDV, that one. We're actually going back in for planning just now to take that back up to 165, which is a long haul, but there's a very specific reason to do that. Which we won't touch on today. But as this man said, assets, income producing assets is kind of where it's at. And we always need to create them so that we can get this, so we can get to our beach or whatever your version of the beach is. My version of the beach is being wherever I want to be, being on holiday every month while doing deals. And never being constrained by the physicality or the doing, working in a business. I'm always the guy that works kind of on the business. So, in a nutshell, we all want these kind of things. And legacy, to get to legacy, we also need to understand and learn about moats, about protection, about financial engineering, so that we can create asset, income, and family protection. But if I kind of lost it all again, I was trying to think, how do I put this across and help people? And I thought, if I kind of lost it all and I had to make 50 grand a month real estate income, as in rental. I'm not talking about short-term leases, I'm talking about very long-term leases. So secure long-term income streams, SLTIS, that is what I strive for every time, either that or a capital event. And if I wanted to make 50 grand, lost it all, wanted to get the family back in the lifestyle that they're accustomed to, so I kind of need 50K and 5 million cash. But I want to do that without any debt. What would I do? And I kind of breaking it down like this. That's maybe not your number. Maybe it's 1,000,000 and 10,000 a month. Maybe it's 2,000,000 and 20K a month. Maybe it's a bit more than that. Who knows? But sometimes in life we go after things instead of engineering our life first, as in engineering what our life wants to look like, and therefore what is the cost of that. And sometimes it's not as much as you might think, but it's really all about life engineering and then figuring out what kind of deals you want to go after, reverse engineering that so you know specifically the kind of deals, how many deals, how much profit, what you're buying it at as a multiple, and what you're exiting it at as a multiple as well. So it's kind of the whole reverse engineering process that we go through and will be going through with our clients at some point, which is quite exciting. So if I there's the premise, there's the goal plan, there's the goal. And just so you know, I'm not special. This is where I started. This is me here, the short guy. And I've not grown anything since then either. But this is me. So imagine the mindset of this. Somebody sets up this kind of business. It was kind of young, and it was an incredibly cash-rich business. One big lesson I learned here, having debtors is never a good thing. Cash, getting money at source is never a bad thing either. And we bought a lot of businesses that produce weekly cash flow thereafter that. And we'll share that. But just so you know, I don't have any special powers. In fact, I had to come from a thinking, a thought process, a philosophy of this is cool to set this up. Now, when I tell you where we got to, you'll know there's been a kind of I went through my own personal journey or lobotomy, shall we say, in order to be able to grow your thinking. Because if you don't change your thinking, you can't change your actions, can't change your results. So I went through a whole program of reaching out to people, paying people, finding out how things work, and then I put that learnings, the philosophy into practice, implemented, and got some pretty cool results. So it was a big, massive change. But if I had to start again and create success, 50 grand a month, 5 million cash, yeah, and I didn't have a £1 billion brands of tenants to rely on that we do right now, none of these were there. if I didn't have deals like this in my portfolio, that we triple the value, and most importantly, I've got passive income coming in, and with leases of 15 to 35 years. If we didn't have that, and if we didn't have deals like this, that was offers on the market for offers over 340K and it costs us 120, how do you do that? There's a strategy for that. If we didn't have that, um, and if we didn't have any experience from buying 30 different businesses, creating 3 million EBITDA, 250 odd staff, all the 30 locations, 16 were freehold, as you see here, and we had a group in Kent, Midlands, Scotland. This was in the gaming sector, highly regulated, very difficult sector to actually do a roll up in. So we did it there, and we got to 21 million. So imagine if I had to start again without this experience. And just so you know, in one day, the 21 million, without buying anything. So we had 30 sites, 16 freeholds, and our 21 million in one day went from 21 to basically 30 million. Now, that's quite a jump. And how do you do that? Well, we'll touch on that. We'll give you a glimpse into that and insight into that. There's quite a few moving parts in terms of doing that. The strategy is simple, but the doing of it obviously is fraught with a lot of moving parts, kind of thing. But that was a kind of quite a big 8.4 gain in one day. So we spent 8 years buying 30 businesses, and in one day, without buying anything else, we created 8.4 million gain. Now that's pretty cool. That's what I call the Pareto plays, the Pareto power play. So we're going to be using this to try and get to our 5 million and £50,000 a year rental. Yeah, these kind of strategies. These aren't the only strategies, but this is one of the strategies that we'll be using, and I call this splitting the atom, and we'll touch on why that is. So imagine if I had to do this. I didn't have the track record. Excuse me, got a bit of a cold, and we weren't in the game for 30 years. I haven't done 43 deals, and right now we've got a deal. It looks like it's going into legals quite soon. It's 18 million, 1.5 million rent, and 1.5 million EBITDA profit from the trading businesses, which is quite exciting. And this is a very specific sector in the healthcare, and we've already analyzed, sourced, scraped, siphoned off 170 businesses, a pipeline that match my kind of deal DNA or my deal KPIs that we're going to be going after we get the first one into legals. So this is a buy and build strategy and a splitting the atom strategy, that's separating the business from the commercial. So we're going to be deploying all this kind of stuff and it's really simple, 6 steps. We're going to be deploying all this kind of stuff in order to really force capital appreciation, yeah, and to eradicate debt in the meantime. So some people might be thinking, potentially, is it too late for me? And and that's a valid thought. I'm 58, but and maybe there's a few others around the table that's that kind of age. But just bear in mind, Buffett made 99% of his wealth after he was 50. So that's it basically means obviously that's compounding over time, a long period of time. But it just goes to show that it's never kind of too late. So what are we kind of going to learn here? Let me just move this little pesky thing out of the way. There we go. So what are we going to learn here today? Well, first of all, how we bought 30 businesses. What was the strategy for that? As a roll-up. A roll-up is basically when you buy multiple businesses in the same sector. Yeah. But my niche, as I say, is buying businesses in the same sector that actually own their own real estate. Second thing we're going to learn is we're going to dive in a bit deeper, pull back some of the layers on how we made 8.4 million in one day. That seems a bit far-fetched, but it's completely true. We'll show you proof, and we'll give you an insight of how you maybe do that and how you can apply that to make, remember, 5 million cash and 50K a month from rent without any debt. We're going to use that kind of strategy to force capital appreciation. And the only deal and money source you'll need if you want to do this kind of thing, we're going to show you that. There's the goal, excuse me for the cough. And at the end, we'll maybe give you a little glimpse on my blueprint and perhaps how you can get involved if you want to get involved. And all it is a phone call. So as I said, there's nothing for sale. Sit back and enjoy. And if you're a pension investor, property investor, or business owner, then this is definitely kind of for you. because we've all got the same objective. We want to get to a certain goal to create that lifestyle, whatever that may be for you, and everybody's numbers different. And it's just how fast we get there. Is your existing asset class that you're investing in, is that getting you there, and is it going to get you there quick enough? If it is, happy days, stick with it. If it's not, perhaps it's maybe time to look at diversifying into another asset class, and an asset class that's got significant strategies where you can really create massive expansion pretty quickly. So you
Before you keep going,
sorry, this is
sorry.
my partner in crime, Danny.
I just wanted to say there's a lot of questions coming in, and Dan will get to them at the end. I just wanted you guys to know that, just in case you were thinking he wasn't answering them.
Right, so apologies about that. The questions we will get to them. We've just noted them down at the bottom there, so we will get to them. Just let me kind of get through this, and then you'll get a bigger feeling or flavor of kind of what we're doing here. So even if you're this kind of guy, we did a test with our club members, and we developed our own crowdfunding platform, a closed doors crowdfunding platform for doing deals. And we targeted a deal that was £5 million. This was not a business; it was a pure commercial property play, which is one of the few I've done that's not been a business, to be honest. And we raised money from 26 investors, fully compliantly, on our crowdfunding platform. So we kind of work with people that want to do deals, and we work with people who want to invest in deals. And after we get our first deal, there's a whole set of compliance around this as well, which we've kind of spent a lot of time, effort, and a ton of money developing. So there's nothing on offer to invest in here. This is not financial promotion. So let's move on. So there's the goal again. And why do you want to get there? Because obviously we all know we're under attack. We're under attack by multiple things over the last few years, more specifically than any other time. But you know what? When there are attacks, there's always another one coming round the corner. In fact, where are we in the 18.6-year real estate cycle that's been going on for 200 years? Maybe one day we'll do a little short presentation on that, because that's quite incredible to understand where you are in the whole cycle of things. And cycles mean obviously values go up and down depending on where you are in that cycle. But imagine if you didn't have to pay for the real estate in the first place. Imagine if there's a way to get potentially the real estate for free. Wouldn't that be cool? That means you don't need to worry about cycles. So let's jump into that in a second. And then perhaps, maybe a resi investor, property investor, business owner, or perhaps, pension investor. And perhaps you're too much focused on the one asset class, and you want to start bringing in another asset class to diversify your portfolio, which de-risks, and that's a sensible thing to do. And perhaps you're this guy here. Hopefully not. I wouldn't wish this on anybody. I mean, what the governments do to residential yields is, ridiculous to start with. But then you've got all the hassle of tenants, toilets, and boilers. Maybe you're kind of feeling like that guy. But so why business commercial? The bottom line is, it's kind of like this guy here. No, they're not all created equal. They don't all grow at the same rate, and not all of them have the same ability to really force capital appreciation, to double and triple values, or to 10x values. And we'll show you some case studies where we've done that, doubled and tripled values. Is that not quite nice? Now that's not so you re-gear, and it's to de-risk. So if you can double or triple values and you're taking on leverage debt, then you're de-risking the whole thing, yeah, which is my most important thing. And we've all heard this saying before, Andrew Carnegie. 90% of all millionaires are through real estate, and I completely believe that. But what does Warren Buffett say? Warren Buffett says, if you're starting out again, what would you do to replicate your success? He was asked this in one of his now famous annual shareholder meetings. And Warren Buffett said straight away, he would focus on smaller companies because he'd be working with smaller amounts of money, obviously. And what he would look for are businesses, profitable businesses, and that's what he'd invest in, alternative assets. And what he also went on to say here is because often the price is overlooked, where in residential real estate, it's really, really easy to go on Rightmove and find out how much that property is worth. Let's say it's worth 100 grand and you're buying it for 70, a little bit of refurb, 10K, 15K, there's 15K profit in it or something. Every man in the street can find that same information out at the touch of a button. Businesses are different. It's kind of an art and a science put together. That's why there's such a big opportunity. The value of the business is in the eye of the beholder, and it's what two people agree. And obviously, if you're paying this kind of price, if there's more motivation, perhaps the price comes down, or perhaps the terms become more acceptable. And what Warren also said is that this advice would be the same in 100 years as it is right now. As he said, it would be the same advice 100 years ago. Now, that's quite incredible. Andrew Carnegie, Warren Buffett saying, one saying real estate, one saying businesses, but the one I like best is McDonald's, the McDonald's model. What do? They basically are in the real estate business, but they also enjoy the phenomenal cash flow from the business. But most importantly, they don't get involved in the hassle of the running of 90 odd % of the restaurants. Now, I find that quite fascinating and quite good leverage, probably one of the best of leverage. And their game plan is always, buy real estate, put the McDonald's business in there, which obviously adds significant value day one. And then after that, what I call splitting the atom, split everything up so that you're creating assets that are completely separate from the liabilities. So what are liabilities? Staff, customers, that kind of thing. Dealing with professionals, contracts, any kind of situation where you're bringing in outside help or third parties, assets should always be ring fenced, protected like castles and moats and drawbridges. Think about castles being your assets, moats being the protection, SPV, and drawbridges being your contract, your legal contract, binding those two things together, but also at the same time separating them. I know this is perhaps a little bit too far to be going at this point in time, but it's really, really important. Asset protection is one of the critical things, and most people throw everything into their own name and resi, or they put it all into one company, and they have their assets and their liabilities in the one SPV, which is never a good idea. By splitting them, you also de-risk, but you also have an opportunity to add a ton of value in doing so, which is quite interesting. You get two sides of the coin, asset protection and forced capital appreciation. So just before we jump into it, you got to understand kind of two kind of concept. One is this, monopoly. In monopoly, if you've got utilities and you've got one of them and somebody lands on that, they pay 4 times the dice roll. So their tax is 4 times the dice roll. Now, if you have 2 utilities, they pay 10 times. Now, isn't that quite interesting? A really simple change, and you have 250% increased what you're taking in, which is quite incredible. Also, this is kind of how the multiple expansion works in the business side of things. So this is the business side of things. Yeah, how multiple expansion works in a nutshell. I think somebody's got their audio on. Let me just see if I can mute everyone. Mute all. There we go. Cool. So this is on the business side of things. Now we'll touch on the real estate in a second, how you expand the real estate side of values. So in this, you've got multiples up here. I had multiples of profit that you buy and sell at. Yeah. And then you've got your profit here. So low to high kind of profit. And, if you're buying kind of down here, yeah, say 500,000 profit or something, and you're paying maybe 4 times. Yeah. We're paying 6 times right now on a business that we think's, full fair price. It's a great price, but we're going to add a ton of value day one on completion. So if you're buying at 4, you want to be selling at 6. Now, obviously, to sell at 6, you're moving the profit along here. So you're basically buying a number of £500,000 businesses to add up to 1 million, 1.5 million, 2 million, 2.5 million, whatever it may be, depending on, remember, we're going to reverse engineer your lifestyle to find out what kind of businesses you want to buy, how many, in what sector kind of thing. Yeah. So this is kind of this is what's called multiple expansion. So the more EBITDA you can put, not only obviously your business is worth more because it's got more profit, but the bigger multiple you get. Now, this is really incredibly important to get your head around this. It's super simple, but it's also counter kind of intuitive. And so something at 500,000 might sell for 4. You group 5 of them together and you get 2.5 million. You might be selling at 6. Now, isn't that quite cool? That's 6 times multiple. So you've already 150% increased the multiple. Yeah, which is pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool anyway. So what about in the real estate side? That was the business side, multiple expansion. What about multiple expansion in the real estate side? How on earth does that work? Well, it's kind of like this. I don't know if anybody's seen the film Robert, Oppenheimer. Amazing film. Scary but amazing film. And he basically brought fission to life. Fission was a theory. Fission in the quantum world, and he kind of brought it to life. Which obviously had devastating consequences, but who knows, may have saved more lives than it took because it stopped the war pretty quick. But what is fission? Fission is basically the building blocks of life, of matter. It's when you separate the 2 tiniest particles that there is known to man just now. And by separating 2 particles, you get a massive explosion of energy. Now, this is on the quantum world. We're talking about particles, tiny particles that you can't see by the naked eye. And the mere fact of separating them apart creates this massive explosion of value of energy. Now, imagine if the same was true in the commercial real estate side. And this is kind of how it works, or part of it, how it works. This is a key component. There's another key component we won't touch on today. We don't really have enough time, but imagine a lease. Commercial real estate. Imagine you're trading from the business, yeah, and you're trading from the business that owns its own commercial real estate, and it's all in the same company. Excuse me, it's all in the same company. So it's in one SPV. You got your assets with liabilities together. Not a good thing. The mere fact of when you split that up and split the atom and move the commercial away from the business and put a lease in place, you're adding value. Why are you adding value? Because just say a business goes for a 5 multiple or something. The mere fact of splitting it is the rent part is going to be worth 10 times minimum. Yeah, maybe more, maybe a little bit less, but just say 10 times being conservatively. Now let's look at the lengths of leases. Another thing that affects values in real estate. So a 6-month lease, you might get a 7 times multiple. But a 10-year lease, this is subject to a reasonable tenant. Yeah, a good tenant being in there on a 10-year basis, you might get a 14 times multiple. Now that's a doubling of value by extending the lease. And it's one of the principles of splitting the atom. This is an oversimplification, and there's a ton of things that goes into yields, which is how commercial real estate is valued. One of the things is interest rates. And in interest rates, there's 42 factors that go in to make up interest rates. So I'm oversimplifying for the fact of trying to demonstrate a concept, if you can bear with me and give me a little leeway on that. So how does this work in real life? Let's just have a closer look at that, splitting the atom when we bought 30 businesses in different locations. We had a group in Kent, Midlands, Scotland. These were in the gaming sector. Again, not an easy sector to do this in, because there's very large barriers to entry because of the over-regulation. You need a company license, you need a property license, you need a manager's license, and you need a license as well. It's incredibly regulated. And so we bought these over 8 years, yeah. And we did this all ourselves. We never took any equity in. We bought every single one, ourselves. It took a long time. Why? Because we were learning the kind of process. Our first one was July the 4th, 1997. We sold something in 95, made a $750,000 on that or something. But this was a roll up. So the first roll up we did started on July the 4th, 1997 at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's when the first deal completed. And it was a lease option. Why was it a lease option? Because The property was, I think it was just under £1 million or something. So we put 100K down, a rental at 700K, and had an option on the property that we took up 2 years later. Yeah. So it's kind of hedge your bets and get in one bit at a time. You can do this kind of thing. So after we got to a kind of size, let me just reverse back up a bit. What was the game plan here? The game plan was always one thing. The game plan was buy 3 million EBITDA, however we had to do that, and hopefully you have, excuse me, as many freeholds as possible. Not obviously 14 were leasehold, but buy 3 million EBITDA, separate the business from the commercial, and then market the business and sell the business to a PLC. Now, why would we do that? Well, number one, we're getting millions of pounds in for the sale of the business. But number two, when you sell the business to a PLC and you have long-term leases in place, the value of the commercial kind of goes up. Just because there's a PLC on the lease instead of me. Better guarantee of the rent equals stronger covenant, equals more value, less risk. Yeah. So that was the game plan. Buy 33 million EBITDA, split the business from commercial, sell the business to a PLC. Now, when we did this splitting of the commercial, preparing for sale, the property was worth 21.5 million, and the business was worth 8 million. But together they were 21. So that's quite interesting. Just the mere fact of splitting the atom. Remember back to Oppenheimer fission. Splitting two component parts creates a massive burst of energy, just like it does here, a massive increase in value if you do this right. But how do you do it without crystallizing any CGT? How do you do it without crystallizing any VAT? There's an art and a science to kind of doing these kind of things. And we got a value of 29.8, which is basically a 8.4 million uplift. We bought nothing else. We had the same business. We just structured it in a different way. And as I say, there's an art and a science to this. And here's the some of the units, some of the businesses, market value of freehold, going concern, and then the business with the leases in place. So, as I said, in one SPV, in one business, is 21 million at the top, and then the business is worth 8 million, real estate 21.5. So kind of roughly 30 million in total. Now that's creating what's called an opco-propco structure. But there's a little bit more to it than that, obviously. But the actual concept is pretty straightforward. If you surround yourself with the right people that know what they're doing, which I do, and our deal team has got over 100 years experience in doing deals, and over 10 billion of deals they've done. I've only done 113 million, but my deal team have done over 10 billion, which is quite an incredible achievement. In fact, we've got somebody coming on the advisory board that's had multiple of exits at the £1 billion kind of exit range, which is quite amazing. So we're going to jump into some of these things. What kind of deals I would target and why, and how many deals to make the 50K and the 5 million cash. I'm sure everybody wants to know that, and how I would structure the deal, and how I'd finance the deal. Really, really important to know all these things, get an insight into these kind of things, so that you've got an understanding before you can embark on this kind of journey. And it's even more important to surround yourself with people who've done it before. I certainly do, and I'm still doing that today, despite I've got quite a bit of experience in this. I'm always looking for somebody who's done a hell of a lot more and bring them onto the team. Yeah. So why is this such a great opportunity right now? And the fact is that who we target are baby boomers, baby boomer business owners with one motivation, only one. It's called retirement. And baby boomers, what is a baby boomer? It's people who was born 1946 to 1964, and they were massive asset acquirers. Post-war population boom. For 40 years, they've been asset acquirers, and they've now turned to becoming asset sellers. They're basically, in 2025, half of them will be 70, and by 2034, they'll all be 70, and half of them will be 80. Now, they own most of the SME businesses, and they, more importantly, own more of the old, boring kind of brick and mortar businesses. Now, those are the kind of businesses that I like, ones that own and trade from their own commercial real estate. And a lot of them are in the need space. The kind of businesses that we buy, we focus on are essential services, never discretionary. It's always a need, not a want. And if they're doing that, business services, providing a need, not a want, then that's my kind of big tick. It's the kind of space I want to be in. So the group wealth transfer, according to McKinsey's, there's going to be 100 trillion passed from the baby boomer generation, owns 67% of the Western world's wealth, to the next 2 generations. Now, you don't need a lot of that to make this kind of money. To make this kind of money, you just need to stake a tiny claim in that wealth transfer and help maybe 5, maybe 6 business owners to get to their retirement beach, because this is what this is all about. It's about serving our fellow man. It's about serving business owners, and it's about serving somebody else that we'll just touch on. So this is what I would do, and I will go into the numbers on how we make 50K and 5 million. So I would always buy businesses that own real estate from baby boomers. Yeah. And number 2, I would be trying to pay a low times multiple where we're at the top of where I like to be. It's 6 on the one we're doing just now. It is 3 million EBITDA, it's 18 million pounds. There's going to be 1.5 million rent day one with a very long-term lease day one, which, you can imagine asking an investor, that's maybe sitting on a pension or something, do you want to invest in a development that's very risky and there's no cash flow until the end, and you've got less than perfect security, shall we say, or would you like a joint first charge on a commercial real estate that's already got a 25-year lease in place and you get paid every 3 months? It's a different kind of offer. Yeah. So this is why I like these kind of things. And then the game plan is to roll up into a small group with a good team. But the key thing is, you don't need to get to, a big number. We're just about 5 or 6 businesses here. Group them together, get an exit, and then if you want to go again, go again. But you don't have to. This doesn't have to take years and years and years. Yeah. Then after that, split the atom, separate the business, the commercial, the land, the assets, fixed assets, the intellectual property. Why? Asset protection number 1, of course, but also after asset protection, also that forced capital appreciation. But really, really importantly, it helps your most important customer. Now, who is your most important customer here? It's the person or the firm or the business that ends up buying the little group that you create. They're number 1. So you have to know what they want, what they're looking for, and create something that they're dying to get. They're going to follow themselves to kind of buy it off you. Now, when they're buying off you, perhaps they don't have enough finance. Yeah. So imagine if you've got your IP separate, your assets separate, your land separate, your property separate, and then because they don't have enough money, you're just selling the business. Now, isn't that quite cool? How you can become a funder. Yeah. Now, the other thing I'd like to do is always sell the business to a PLC, private equity, big balance sheet, a strong company. And why is that? I would sell that first because then you get a massive, what's called cap compression in the real estate. You get a massive bump in value, forced capital appreciation, just because there's a better tenant on the lease. Now, isn't that quite nice? I think that's quite cool. So let's jump into the numbers here of what it looks like. The numbers are kind of go like the following. So imagine buying 500,000. Now remember on the graph, the multiple expansion, we're at the bottom, we're kind of 4 times on a 500K profit roughly. And imagine that business is old bricks and mortar, boring old bricks and mortar business, and it's been going for decades, which is another big tick on my list. You don't want a new business because most businesses fail in the first 5 years. I think it's 86% or something, and out of the ones that survive in the next 10 years, most of them fail as well. So I'm looking for things that have been around for a while. I'm looking for things that stood the test of time. They've got assets, they've got relationships, they've got customers, they've got a real businesses. Most of them don't have any debt as well because they've been around for that long, which is quite cool. So, but imagine buying 500,000 profit, and they're trading from the real estate, and you're paying 4 times, so that's kind of £2 million. Yeah. And then you split the atom, you separate the business from the commercial. Yeah. And you do it in the right way. So you're not crystallizing any VAT, you're not crystallizing any capital gains tax, You're doing it in the right way. You got the business group structure correctly, the right kind of contracts in place, and you allocate a rent of £100,000 on that lease, which means the business profit reduces to 400,000. Yeah. But you understand what the allocation here. 100,000 is going as a rent to the business. So the business pays the rent to the commercial real estate, which is now separate. And then the business profits are now down to £400,000. So imagine you did this 6 times. So it's basically 6 times the 400, because remember, you're taking 100K of rent off each business and separating that into the property. So you got 6 times 400K, which is 2.4 million after rent of 600. And that's going to cost you, what's that going to cost you? 8 point and a bit million. A bit more than that, actually. That's that 8, it's 9.6, actually. There's slides wrong. But you get the gist of it. There's 9.6, and then you're going to sell the 6 businesses at 6 times profits, which is not a lot for doing the work of herding 6 businesses together. Yeah. The people that kind of buy these things want you to do the initial work and herd the 6 businesses together, serving the business owners and helping them get to the retirement beach. So the people that buy off us, they basically want you to do all the work that they think they're maybe above that, but they'll pay well for you doing the work. So you move from 4 times to 6 times. Yeah. 6 times profits. It's kind of 14.4 million. Which is 6.4 million profit. Just say we've got some tax in there, and after 6.4 million profit, you got a £5 million net. Yeah. So we've gone from buying one business to then buying 4 businesses. We've separated the commercial from the business. We've kind of got 600,000 rent coming in, and we've kind of got a net after we sell, after we paid off the costs. We kind of get 6 million. Say net 5 after all tax and this kind of thing, which is not too shabby, because how many years is that going to take? Say it only took you say you only did one deal a year, which you won't, because after you get one, you just want to get on to the next one pretty quickly. So it might take you 3 to 5 years, in that range. You might do it quicker, but say 3 to 5 years. That's not bad. That's quite a good payment of £5 million for 3 to 5 years. Now, what about the real estate? Well, you got the real estate. Remember, you've got 6 properties at 100,000 a piece. So you've got 600,000 yearly rent coming in. But guess what? You've paid off the toll cost, so you've got no debt on the commercial real estate, and you got 5 million cash by buying 6 businesses. So it's not easy, and you need to know what you're doing, and you need help along the way. But is this better than buying 6 residential buy-to-lets? Possibly. I don't know. I think so. I think it's not too shabby. So, as I said back at the beginning, not all assets are created equal. In residential, you don't get multiple arbitrage. You don't get margin arbitrage. You don't get to split the atom. You do in a certain way, but in a very small way. Yeah. And then imagine if you basically sell the real estate. So 600,000 on a bad day is going to be worth 6 million, but more likely in the range of 8 to 9 million is what it's probably going to go for, depending on the one critical thing: your best customer. Who is the person that's buying you? If they've got a big balance sheet, if they're private equity, if they're a PLC, then all of a sudden you're more in the 9+ range. If it's a smaller company, you're in the 6 million range. So see, picking that customer is really, really critical. So all of a sudden, instead of 600,000 and 5 million cash, you maybe got 11 to 14 million with 6 deals. Now, for me, I would rather have a 600K a year and a 5 million cash, because, in my experience, that's quite nice. You get a bit of everything. So there are the numbers around, how you make 50K a month and £5 million cash, or more, or less, depending on you got to remember, reverse engineer what your lifestyle is going to be. What do you need to achieve that? And then what business are we going for? What sectors? How many? And this kind of thing. So if I was starting again from scratch, there's only one kind of deals I'd be looking for: retirement motivated baby boomer business owners. The problem is, as I've said, by 2025, they are the baby boomers are, half of them are 70. By 2034, they're all 70, and half of them are 80. And they own these old, boring bricks and mortar businesses that trade from their own real estate, and they're absolutely beautiful because they've been going for decades. Yeah, their biggest problem is they're trapped in their business, trading time for money. They're gambling all their family's wealth on one asset, and they are pivotal usually to the business, and they've got no exit strategy. So us serving them is how to fix those three problems. That's really what we're doing here. We're kind of fixing a baby boomers business owners' biggest problem. That's what we're doing. Now, the opportunity is that because of those problems, you get a discount to value. Yet these businesses are discounted, and you're able to buy them at a low multiple, kind of 3, 4, and 5 times, or the sector I'm focused on is more 6, 7, and 8, but the exit is 12 to 16. So it's the same kind of arbitrage. You're looking to 150 to 200% your multiple when you're selling these things. So the opportunity is pretty huge because right now, baby boomers, there's 10,000 retiring every single day. Yeah, they own 67% of the Western world's wealth, and they own most of the SME, more than 50% of the SME businesses, of which most of them are the old, boring bricks and mortar business. And guess what? The kids don't want that. The kids want something sexy. They want a laptop lifestyle. They want a social media kind of thing. They just don't want an engineering business. They don't want a nursing home. They just don't like this kind of thing. So how do you do it? Well, we have a blueprint that I'll quickly share in a minute, that I've devised over 35 years of deals, over 43 transactions, and I've told you over 113 million of deals we've personally done. Our deal team's done over 10 billion, but me personally, 113 is quite a few, and we're about to close another one at 18 million as well. But we've also got a pipeline of 170 companies, businesses that we've scraped and siphoned and selected based on my deal DNA, my kind of deal KPI, so that we can do this buy and build roll up a little bit faster than maybe 5 years. So in terms of that's baby boomer business owners, what about the money? Right now, the big opportunity, the big problem actually is basically pension investors. So what's the big problem with pension investors? Well, right now, there's a ton of pension investors and even small business pensions called SAS pensions. Their biggest problem is there's 50 odd thousand of them, average £300,000 a piece. A lot of them, a lot more than that. And their biggest problem is sitting in cash. That's a ton of money. It's in the billions. It's in the lots of billions that's sitting there in cash, eroding with inflation, eroding with there's a management fee a year, which is usually no big deal, but it still decreases it. And usually most of these people are professionals, busy professionals, busy business owners, and they just don't have the time to go out and do their deals themselves. Their biggest problem is putting that money to work and having the right security together with getting that money to work. Yeah. So there's a massive need, a problem from SAS pension owners to be able to deploy their capital, get some growth while protecting their capital. Yeah. And for me, the opportunity is to let them do either one of two things or both. One is to let them be the bank, replace the bank, and be the bank. Let them be your own bank kind of thing. Give them bank grade security, bank grade returns on that respect. But also for a few of them, potentially let them be a partner. If you allow them to be the banker and get a first joint charge, and get bank grade security, bank grade returns, the next step above that is to potentially be partners, equity partners, passive pension partners. And that for me is the way forward, the way to go. You're really serving baby boomer business owners by helping them get to the retirement beach, but you're also serving passive pension partners by getting their money to work in the same model. The model of this is the same model that the most sophisticated investors on the planet deploy, which is private equity. and McDonald's as well, obviously, but private equity, this is really a buy and build strategy. Private equity, they are the most sophisticated cats on the planet. A minimum of 3 times multiple invested capital, million in, 3 million out. That's the kind of normal. They do go to 4 and 5, but let's keep our feet on the ground. If you can double and triple your capital and do that every 5 years, that's probably not a bad day in the office for a pension investor, especially when they don't do anything. Well, I'm not saying they're not doing anything, but they're not doing the active looking, finding, sourcing, analyzing, funding, doing all the bits and bobs. They're aiding in the whole process, getting handsomely paid, but they're still carrying on with their high value job or whatever it is they may be doing. So that, to me, is the only money source we potentially need for the foreseeable future. Now, in terms of what about exits? Well, for me, the exit, I mean, the only exit is number one, you want to create multiple exits, and that's probably a discussion for another day, but you can create multiple exits on the same business. Yeah. Think about, selling the business, keeping the commercial. There's 2 exits. One's a capital play, one's an income play. Yeah. Which we've gone over the 5 million to 50K a month. But also you can have a third exit. And that's by when you sell to a private equity firm. Remember, we talked about the leasing. You separate the assets, fixed assets, intellectual property, land, property, where you can actually lease more than just the property back to whoever buys. And for me, the people that you want to be selling to are private equity or a PLC or a big balance sheet. Now, the problem with private equity is they've grown massively over the last kind of 12 years, and their biggest problem, they're sitting on 5 trillion in cash, which I can't even get my head around that. That's a massive number. And but they're sitting on 5 trillion in cash just now. 2 biggest problems for them with the cash is, number one, the managing partners usually put in £1 million a year fee. So if their money's not working, that £1 million eroding that cash, that fund that they set up. Number two, obviously inflation, cash is inflation's biggest enemy kind of thing. So it's eroding. So if they don't get the money to the market and get it invested in good businesses, then that money's kind of melting away. Now, they don't like to be going into the 500, a million kind of range, but when they're buying business, they need to be up at the kind of 2.5, £5 million profit. But if you put a number of these things together and sell to them, they will pay handsomely for that. Excuse me. So it's really this whole game is about buying low from motivated vendors who want to get to retirement, facilitating that with the money from passive pension partners, and then selling to private equity, and then deploying. Probably the most important thing is the multiplication game. It's understanding all the tools, all the levers at your disposal from the point you buy to the point you sell to make sure you really force that capital appreciation, force the cash flow, increase the margin. So you got multiple expansion, margin expansion, split the atom, how to structure deals, how to stack deals. There's quite a bit in it, to be honest, but it's really simple to get your head around once it's put out into a blueprint or a roadmap. Yeah. So moving on. From now on, you see how, I don't know, I think this space is not too shabby. There's not a ton of people doing it, and there's a ton of business owners that want to exit. There's a ton of 15 billion of cash sitting in pension accounts right now, and they want to get it invested. They want to protect it, number one, because return of capital is the most important thing for investor. And if you're not thinking from a point of view of serving your investors by putting their money as the most important aspect in the deal, then you're not serving them to the fullest extent. When we do things, we like to protect them fully and also protect the baby boomer business owner if there's any deferred element. So if this deal we're buying just now is 18 million, there'll be 15 million paid on day one, yeah, but there'll also be 3 million deferred. Now, because I want to serve them, I want to make sure I protect that 3 million to make sure that they're comfortable leaving that 3 million on the table and giving security for that. Now, same with investors, passive pension partners. I want to give them a first charge on the property. 100%. Joint first charge, obviously, because there's quite a few of them in this kind of size of a deal. But I also want to give them a kicker, an equity kicker in there as well. There's a whole lot of compliance around this. It's not easy. There's regulations galore, and they've just been changed by the FCA as well, and they come in on the 24th of Jan. So it has the kind of landscape in that regulated compliance space is very much a moving beast and getting more tighter. So whenever you're raising kind of money, you have to do it in a very specific way. And the raising money is kind of like a game in itself when you're trying to do it compliantly, and which is why we went to all the trouble and the hassle and the costs and the time to develop our own kind of crowdfunding platform. Now, after we get this deal into legals, we're going to submit our own application to the FCA to be able to raise equity and debt for our deals and club members' deals, which is quite exciting. Now, that doesn't happen overnight. I don't know if you've got any experience with this. You realize that that takes 6 to 9 months. So that's kind of Q4 probably. Yeah. So we're creating a kind of deal, private equity kind of club where people can learn how to do these kind of deals. People can invest in these kind of deals, and they can do it safely and compliantly. Because number one, a deal won't be going on the platform unless there's sufficient security for investors. And number two, a deal won't be going on the platform unless it's fully stacked. And we've got a full team, M&A analyst, myself, legal, proper. We've got a hell of a team, an elite deal team to help with these kind of things. So right now there's kind of two options. And option number one is doing it yourself, obviously. I did it myself first time around. You can still do that. You're going to fall in potholes. I did a number of times. And my kind of choice was when I started, I actually paid somebody. My first ever mentor was a chap called Jay Abraham, actually, marketing expert. And he taught me about direct mail, lumpy mail. Second mentor was a guy called Dan Pena. A little bit abusive, but his concepts were cool. And very abusive, actually. Stayed in his castle. He has a castle in Scotland, a bit OTT, but it's wonderful. And he taught me about acquisitions and how to simplify everything. He didn't know anything about the real estate side of things. That's kind of my own experience bolting that on. And then I've kind of had a number of other mentors since then. And even right now, we're bringing someone on the advisory board that's exited 2 different businesses to private equity for over $1 billion each time, which is, quite chunky kind of thing. So there's a hard way to do it yourself, but you can do it yourself. Don't make a mistake. You can do this yourself. You need to learn all the tools. You need to go and pay people to learn those kind of things. Or the easy option is you kind of do it potentially with us. Now, you might be right for this, you might be not right for this, but either way, we're going to open up a call, and you can book a call. We can have a chat. It's just a one-to-one chat. No big deal, no stress. If anyone that knows me, there's a few in here that do, I'm pretty laid back, pretty chilled out, and that's just the way I am, kind of thing. These 4 people here are when we had the commercial kind of deal clinic club, and we ran analysis on deals, how to structure deals, how to do this one, for commercial real estate, just the commercial real estate side of things. And this is our head architect here, head town planner, Alex, the analysis, and myself, kind of strategic overview of the whole thing, how to simplify it to get the same result is really my job. And you can see everybody's eyes here. They're all focused on somebody's deal right now. And to be honest, this is probably $2,000 an hour, the value of people's time here. And, people got access to that. We're going to do a similar thing again, but for buying businesses and real estate. A similar kind of thing we did again, because why? We got results, we had some fun. And, this is, me having the most fun is walking along the beach, doing a deal with my family, having some fun, having some play. I think it was Richard Branson that says, he never understood why people would separate work and play. It's all just life. And when you try and design your life so that whatever, it's not the destination. You want the toys, you want the whatever, the money, but it's a journey. The journey is the destination. It's all about designing your life so you're enjoying what you're doing while you're going towards somewhere, greater together, kind of thing. And my 2 pence worth anyway. So we've done a few deals, and this latest one just now, is an absolute ripper. I'm really quite excited about it, and we've got club members deal from the commercial club, where we just taught commercial real estate, and we might have touched on business acquisitions briefly, but there's one of Chris Carter. He did this deal. Most important thing here, he didn't have a pension at the time, and he managed to. He's now got 50K a year coming in tax free, kind of thing, which is not too shabby. If he sells it, makes a capital gain, there'll be no tax either. And whenever he passes away, this could go to whoever he wants to, kids, whatever. We've got Derek. He did this deal with his pension again, very tax efficient. Pension is just a tax wrapper, but it's also a trust that passes down through generations. And this is one of the structuring things that we touch on in financial engineering. So the guys did a lot of deals, and I'm really excited to see what kind of deals the guys do in this club, because it's going to be fun. This is just one of our club members from the commercial club. She saved $3,000 a year just by we know professionals, and we know what people do and what they do well. And this is just the basic kind of what I call the bread and butter accounting. This is not tax. This is just your numbers. Getting your compliance, your returns done. She saved quite a lot of money there just by going. There's some more deals we did in the club. I know we're going fast, but I've kind of gone over the time that I allocate for this, and I want to be conscious of your time as well. So this was a business we bought out of administration. It was a 10-pin bowling alley. We turned it into a blue chip investment. We tripled the value. This one here is not a business. It was a distressed business, to be honest, and we demolished it and had this built. It was a 10x in value. This one here is quite exciting. This was offers over 340K, trading business. Been on the market for over 2 years. We paid a net 120 lease option with a fixed price over 5 years, but we took it up 26th of March 2016. Actually, bought it in 2000. Lease option in 2012. Bought it 2016. It's been rented out at $2,000 a month ever since. So it's kind of 20% return. But the exciting thing is, I bought it because of the location, and this is going to be the one that gets demolished, and there's going to be 150 PBSA. Now, this program is not about developing like that. That was because I buy two types of businesses, really profitable ones, and we roll them up in the same sector, split the business from commercial, sell the business. Yeah, happy days. Hopefully get the commercial real estate for free. The kind of things I buy, secondly, are businesses in decline that own the commercial real estate. And sometimes with that aspect, you have to do a bit of work, like turning that from a trading 10-pin bowling alley with 28 staff into an investment. There's a little bit of work involved. Not much, but there is a little bit of work. And most of the work you can pass back to the tenants, to be honest. This one here is a lot of work, and I wouldn't wish that on anybody. It's a lot of work. It is definitely not the Fred way to make money, but it's going to be good. It'll probably make 6 million profit, but it's taken years, and that doesn't put wine on the table, kind of thing. So we're looking to do something a little bit faster, quicker, and we're conscious of the kind of people in the age that we'll probably have in the club that I kind of want to work with. This was the one actually that we first developed a crowdfunding platform for, and our it doesn't have a roof on top. The game plan day one to go into this deal was to put 2 floors on top, convert the top 3 floors to resi, but the kind of game plan changed through the way. So you should I always have a plan B, C, and D kind of thing on these things. So the net cost on this is 325, and the rent is 390. 2 national high street brands in there, trading very, very well. So this is a pure real estate play. It's not a business acquisition, but it kind of goes hand in hand. So the simplify on this one is to buy it, extend the leases. Pineland and CX. Remember we said about extending the leases really increases the value. That was what we did here. We also got a planning game upstairs, and then sold the uppers onto Alex, who was my partner in this deal before. He bought the uppers. I bought the kind of 2 commercials downstairs. The great thing about this is they're long-term leases, so the tenants are paying down the debt. Yeah, so all the debt that's here will be paid down by the tenants, which is pretty cool. And there's a lot of fat on top of that, shall we say, or extra cash flow. which is not too shabby. Another thing, that deal was actually not found by me. It was found by one of our deal club members. Remember when we did the commercial deal club, commercial property deal club, and we paid him £75,000. They didn't want it, didn't want to fund it. It was not their kind of thing, and they're now deal sources full time. And we paid him 75K on completion, which is November 2021. So we might be doing the same kind of thing again with businesses and also commercial real estate. So maybe you see yourself as a deal doer who wants to do a few of these deals, but maybe wants some help. Maybe you see yourself as a passive pension investor where you got some pension, but you don't have the time and you want to really get your money protected and growing. Or perhaps you want to start bringing some deals to the table and get paid a kind of deal fee. So I suppose the next thing is we're basically going to give people who took the time to come on here the opportunity to book a call. And it's a call with either myself or Danny, my right-hand man, beautiful daughter. And it's really, this call is just really where you're at, where you want to get. We just want to get to know people because we want to be able to do deals together, invest together. And for that to happen, we need to speak to everybody, every single person that comes in here. I want to speak to on a one-to-one basis. I want to know them, find out who they are, what their background is, if they want to be doing deals, if they want to be bringing deals to the table but not doing them, or if they just want to invest in deals. So I kind of want to get to know everybody that comes in here, kind of like a golf club. You go to the golf club and you have a chat with whoever it is at the time, and you're seeing if you like them, if they like you, and if it's a mutual fit. And if it is, happy days. And if it's not, cool. It's all good either way. It's cool. So who is this for? As I said, it's for pension investors. So if you've got a SAS pension, SIP pension, you've got a normal pension, you really want to be having to think about potentially. I'm not saying a SAS or SIP's right for you, but it's certainly a good tax wrapper and it doesn't die after traditional pension obviously evaporates at some point. You more than likely us guys are going to go before your good ladies, and then when we do, it goes to her. But when she passes away, most pensions just kind of evaporate. They go back to the government. SAS pensions, that doesn't happen, which is a beautiful thing. So this is for pension investors, property investors, business owners who perhaps want to diversify into another asset, an asset that's going to get them there quicker. Now, as I said, if your asset is getting you where you want to go in the time frame you want to be there, fantastic, carry on. If you want to add something else that perhaps has got the ability to multiply your capital, then book a call, let's have a chat. You might even be this guy. This guy obviously is knackered. He's got his pension, but he hasn't got any time to go and do deals, do due diligence, analysis, sourcing, siphoning. He hasn't got the time to do that. So he's quite happy being a passive pension partner and putting his money in and saying, right, Dan, give me an update. What's happened? Or maybe he's investing with you in one of your deals. So the gig is, how to protect and multiply your money, buying business and real estate, or pieces of them. Maybe you're this guy, you just want pieces of them, a portfolio, a mini Berkshire Hathaway, a portfolio of little bits of businesses and little bits of commercial real estate. Maybe that's you, maybe it's not. Either way, it's all good. So what if there's a process? If I can condense all my deals and experience into a process, this is our kind of process. And first, you got to understand how to play the game. How to play the game to win. There's rules, there's fundamentals, there's concepts that you must master. You have to get under the skin of these concepts, obviously in a deeper way. And you got to understand about assets. This one, the multiplication game, is really where it's at. As soon as you understand how to source deals, siphon deals, analyze deals on a napkin basis, and also on a deep M&A, full financial analysis basis, and if you don't know how to do that, which you probably don't, because it's an art in itself, we've got a guy in the team. Yeah. But then after, leave that aside, the basics. It's all about the multiplication game. This is all about multiple expansion. Going from 4 times to 6 times to 7 times. It's all about margin expansion, the 6 levers that we can use within the business to grow the top line, decrease the direct cost, decrease the overheads, and really force that bottom line. So we're not just getting multiple expansion, we're getting margin expansion. And then real estate expansion. You've got to kind of get your head around that. And how you do that in a way that you're not crystallizing any CGT, capital gains tax. You're not crystallizing any VAT. There's ways to do this and ways, obviously, not to do this. So that, and then financial engineering. How do you structure deals? How do you structure your corporate structure in a way that you can take in investors into various different things, but also in a way where it's easy to sell? Remember, the one customer that's most important is the chap that's going to buy your business. So structure yourself in a way that's really flexible for him to buy if he's the right guy. And in the leverage game, the personal game plan is really, it's all about that perfect lifestyle. What do you want? What does it look like? I'm not talking about 10 Lamborghinis here. I'm talking about what is your normal, what would great look like? What would a perfect day that you'd be happy to live that every day? What would that look like with keeping your feet on the ground? Right, now let's reverse engineer that whole process. If you don't get clarity on the first thing, that's your fuel to keep you going through this process. It's absolutely mandatory. If you don't have that first, you reverse engineer that whole process back to what kind of businesses, what kind of profit they're making, what kind of sector, how many you need to roll up, who you're selling it to, and who do you need in your team to be able to do that. That's your personal game plan. And then the actual blueprint itself for buying businesses is obviously critical. The steps in the way, how you use direct mail, how you use other sources of sourcing, what's my favorite, what's my not favorite, what's the one that you get the most bang for buck, the Pareto way, all these kind of things. And if you haven't got time to source yourself, we've got someone on the team. This is an extra, obviously a charge because you can't get people to do things for nothing, but he can source for you. The money game, the capital stack. What is the capital stack? How do you raise money from passive pension investors? What are other sources of finance that are out there? Because there's multiple ways to raise money for businesses, multiple ways for the real estate, and multiple ways for the intellectual property, the fixed assets, the debtor book. I like to keep it really simple, to be completely honest. The wealth protection game is all about your castles, your moats, your drawbridges, the kind of wealth protection principles that the rich have been using for centuries, how you can deploy that for the man on the street, for the little guy like us, and what's the effect of that. It's all about asset protection, income protection, family protection. Yeah. And then, one of my favorite things is I've come to love tax, which is kind of weird to say, but when you start diving into tax exemptions, I'm talking about really simple vanilla tax exemptions. They are a myriad of them out there that are kind of hidden in plain sight, which is quite incredible. But I've made it a personal mission to find out, what these are over the last kind of 15 years. And there's some quite illuminating ones, shall we say. And this one I won't go into, but this is kind of after you've done a roll up and you're sold out, this is for the next kind of step. And it's all about being a global citizen. It's all about, residency, tax domicile, passports, second passports, that kind of thing. So that's kind of our blueprint. And, and you just got to decide if, does this sound interesting? Does it sound like you? If so, book a call. We're going to put a thing in the link. Yeah, we've not even put a thing in the link or a link in the thing. Bear with me 1 second. Hopefully you can do that. Yeah, Danny will get the link and put it in the chat. And meanwhile, let's have a look at some questions. Nigel, Rena, I hope you've got a thanks, Mano. Pleasure. Rena, good to see you. And what is EBITDA? Just think of the fancy name as of profit. EBITDA is a very malleable and movable thing, and just go on. So it's earnings before interest, tax, and depreciation, and just think of it as profit. EBITDA is a kind of a moving beast because a lot of things manipulate it. And but if you think about it simply as what is the thing making profit, I like pre-tax and post-tax. Post-tax is what you're actually making, and then take capital expenditure into account, and then you're really looking at the net free cash flow. And the net free cash flow is everything when you're doing these kind of things. EBITDA is a way to kind of gauge what businesses are worth in a very loose basis kind of thing. So somebody's answered that. Apologies. Similar to net profit, yeah, it certainly is. So I have a question later on. GP, I was part of Daniel's commercial club, Mano. Can also say that both. Well, thanks very much for that, Mano. He's an awesome dude. Thanks, Rena, for saying that. GP, need to hop off. I'll engage with you next week. Yeah. He's a bit of a pension guy. Will it be a replay? It looks like it's recording, but you never can tell.
That's me put in the link for the
or Danny's put the link in for the call. Yeah, there it is there. What we'll also do, somebody can't get it from here because sometimes it's hard to copy. We'll maybe email it out. And if you want to jump on a call, as I said, it's me. I'm pretty chilled out, laid back, and I just really want to have a chat with people, and get the right kind of people in the club. It's a kind of closed club, just like the crowdfunding platform is a closed thing, and we really want to create predominantly two people. You either a deal doer and you need some help, or number two, you've got a pension and you're busy and you want to invest. Or there's also the third one where you got a foot in each camp. You want to do deals yourself, but you also want to invest because you're sitting on a pension in cash, eroding with inflation, and you want to do a bit of both. The other person is somebody who perhaps wants to find deals and present them to guys in the club, and perhaps they'll get a deal fee. So if you want to do deals yourself, if you want to invest in deals, or if you want to try and find deals and get a deal fee, it's kind of for those people. For people who are already, they're already a property investor, or maybe they've got their pension investor, or maybe they're a business owner, but you kind of got some level. You're not starting from scratch. This is not a get rich quick in 2 minutes. It's get kind of wealthy and a lot of cash flow and a lot of capital events, but it doesn't happen in 2 minutes. And things go wrong. Shit happens. This is real life. But if you ever wanted to be in a program where you get a front row seat to watch me do my deals and how the wheels fall off the car while I'm doing my deals and how I put them back on, and when I put these wheels back on, I usually find a way of adding some value in one way, shape, or form. It's just, if I've got one kind of superpower, it's being creative and in strategy. I don't know why that is, but it's just my thing. I'm also good with numbers in terms of analyzing things on the back of a fact packet on a napkin, and get my friend to then do the deep dive M&A analysis. So both are important, but they're the kind of guys we're after. Are there any target sectors you focus on? Well, I always focus on one sector: essential spend. Business services in the essential spend sector. Never ever touch discretionary. Discretionary are things you don't need, but you want. So imagine your wages got cut by 30%. What do you still need to spend money on? And what do you want to spend money on? Always buy businesses that are feeding a need, not a want. Yeah. Terry, how are you doing, buddy? What are the 3 biggest issues to avoid when using the strategy tip? 3 biggest issues are, well, let me see. Number one, experience, the knowledge of the strategies to how you can really force capital appreciation. And even before that, before you get to that point, because that's adding value in terms of how you fund things as well. But it's really the analysis. A lot of people analyze things and forget about capital expenditure, which is critical. If you don't understand that, like one business I've seen is doing just over $500,000 profit, $500,000 EBITDA. But the capex over the last 7 years on average was nearly $500,000, like a year. So that thing is not making any money. Yeah, it looks like it's making money, 500 EBITDA, but if you go behind the numbers and start analyzing the balance sheet and the variances of the balance sheet over a period of time, we look at is 5 years, and we look for trends. Yeah. And if you don't know how to do that, you can really come unstuck. If you're just putting a cash flow together, and don't understand the capex involved. And every business is different for capex. So for me, I suppose it's one of the biggest things is the analysis. You need a professional on your team to do that. We've got one, and then it's understanding the strategy. To actually force that capital appreciation. I suppose the other thing is really a critical thing is the sector. Stay with needs, not wants. If you end up going with wants, well, at the end of 2026, the end of 26 is the end of an 18.6 year real estate cycle. We all know what happens every 18.6 years. So that gives you an insight into what's coming. Now, if you're in discretionary, if you're in wants, if you're in that sector, you're going to take a massive hit on the top line and the bottom line. So it's just not something you want to do. You want to, in a nutshell, stay in the need, stay essential spend, have someone on your team that can analyze these things, and then obviously understand and learn the strategies to really force that cap appreciation. I suppose for me, another thing, never work in the business, always work on the business. The person that's buying your business, they do not want you on the organization chart. They'll probably can't, cut off a 1 multiple just because of that, because they've got to find someone to replace you. If they can buy and it's a plug and play into their business, it's probably worth 1 times more. And if you're doing $500,000 profit, then it could be another $500,000 in your bag. If you've got 5 or 6 of them, that's millions extra in your bag. You've got another 1 times multiple because the thing runs itself. Now, it doesn't mean to say you just buy it and you leave it. You need to make sure it's a data-driven business with KPIs in place and independent people who are providing you with the information on a monthly basis, and sometimes a weekly and a daily basis. On this business that we're looking to buy, there's going to be daily reporting on the one big metric, which is occupancy. I want to know that every single day. Yeah, because that drives everything. Because everything else is pretty much fixed. Yeah. So I think we've done that. What types of businesses? Jay, thanks for coming, buddy. Good to see you again. How are you valuing a business? Many things goes into that. Structuring and stacking a business is absolutely critical to have somebody on your team that really understands this kind of thing, Michael, and or Zulk, and it is an art. My friend that I do the napkin stuff, and then we get together to do the full deep dive. He's done this for the top corporate finance houses in London. He really knows his stuff. So Fiona, I was fascinated. Years ago, I followed your Commercial Property Club, but I just had too much on my plate and wasted my opportunity to benefit. I'm just too small a property investor to have money. I need to build up more than hopefully take part, but at the moment I can. Thank you all. Thanks very much for that, Fiona. Absolute privilege, pleasure. Graham, good to see you again, buddy. The knowledge that Dan gave me the win in the CPA group was the best. Well, thanks very much for that. That's very kind of you, Graham. Chris Carr, I don't know about that, but thank you very much for the kind words anyway. Who looks at the actual books of the businesses you buy? Well, initially you do yourself, or you have a team that do that. I would always look at mine, first initially do the napkin analysis that's literally on a napkin. And then I would sit down with my friend and I, and we'd both go through it in a fine-tooth comb. Now, we want very specific information before we start that, because there's a good few hours involved in that analysis. And if I don't have all the information, I don't start. Yeah. So I usually look for 5 years full of detailed accounts, not the abbreviated accounts, full detailed accounts, up-to-date management accounts, and just a sprinkling sketch of, give me a rough idea, what the assets are in terms of, land, property, fixed, whatever, stock. What's the minimum level investment you'd look for from a small resi investor linked to investing commercial? If you're an investor, I'm not quite sure. We'll find out in the first deal when it happens. The first time we did this, 26 investors, there's a few people came in with 100K each. But most people came in with a minimum, which is 25,000, which is pretty good. The great thing about that was that at that time, when we bought that property, developed the crowdfunding website, the 25K also give you masterminds, i.e. updates on the deal, how we did things, how we valued things, how we plan to force capital appreciation, how the numbers panned out from that. So kind of real life front row seat of the deal happening in real life kind of thing, which there's theory and then there's real life. They're two completely different things. And, having that, I think all the guys on the journey quite enjoyed that. So they obviously got a double-digit return, but most importantly, they got the education as part of it. But when we do this, there's nothing to like. This is not a financial promotion because we don't have a deal to open up to anyone right now. We soon will, but every deal is different as well. Yeah, so every deal is absolutely independent, and there'll be a banker part of it, i.e. your own bank with a first joint charge, with bank grade security, bank grade returns, and then also be an equity part of it. That we might obviously be a higher value point to get into the equity, because obviously equity, you're multiplying your money. If you're going to be a banker, the kind of returns banks get. So we're going to give people an opportunity to replace the bank, get educated at a front row seat on the real life deals as it happens, and how we roll this business up. But also, if you want to be part of the equity, it's obviously a bit chunkier. The numbers we don't know. We'll find out on the first deal real soon. And yeah, but if you wanna find out if this is for you, or let's have a chat, then jump on the link. The link's in the thing.
I can post it again just to make sure it's up to
Post
date.
that again, and we look forward to either be myself or Danny, one of the two of us, because this is a family business, and this is how we do it. There's no big corporate. We're not a training company, but we do help people with education. We're a deal doing company. We're a family office that's basically protecting and multiplying our own money to grow and protect that for to leave our own legacy kind of thing. So Rob's asking, in your example, where do you get the 8 million to acquire 6 businesses? Are you using 2.4 to borrow funds? There's various different ways, Rob, where you get the money. It's called the capital stack, and then in a basic high level, there's debt, there's mezzanine, there's equity, and debt's is pretty straightforward. You know what that is. My preferred option are SaaS pension investors. Why? Because in 3 years, or at the end of 2026, we're at the peak of a real estate cycle. Last peak was 2008. We all know what happened by the banks. They had a liquidity crisis, and started feeding off their own customers, which is not very nice, but it is what it is. Would that happen again? I don't know, but history usually repeats itself. And the 18.6-year real estate cycle, that we might do a presentation on that one day, has been repeating for 200 years now. So it's nothing new. And it will happen again, as it always does. And it's all based on land prices, land values, land rents. And when they get out of kilter to earnings, there's always a correction. And that's usually on average 18.6 year, and it's anything between 17 and 21. Yeah. So John Bendels from Malta, he's in there. Fantastic. Thank you very much, John. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there. It's been an absolute pleasure. I really, really appreciate everyone taking the time, to hear my story, hear kind of what we're doing. I'm excited for the road going ahead. And if you want to find out if this is right for you, if you want to have a chat, just fill out the click the link, and it's just a Calendly call, and we'll jump on the call together. So what's left to say is, there's another 3 questions somewhere. Oh, thank you very much, Rob, Nira, Rena. Thank you very much, guys. So if you want to do deals yourself, just don't quite know how, want some help, want your kind of stabilizers on your bike to make sure you don't crash, or if you want to invest in deals, or maybe if you want to be a deal hunter and get that deal fee, then jump on the blower and click the link, and we'll have a time together, and we'll have a chat, see where it goes. But anyway, it's all for me to say thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Guys, thank you. I really appreciate your time. And we'll see you next time, or hopefully see you on the call. Cheers, guys. Bye.